Hey guys, what's going on? Tyrauku here, back again with another raid video. So, how have you guys been? I know I've been super busy with the house stuff, still getting all that done. A lot more work than I expected. I'm gonna be doing some drywalling stuff, which is gonna be a new project for me. I've never done any drywall. Now, this is not like a ton of drywall, just like some patching spots, but it is gonna be an adventure. So if you have some drywalling tips, let me know down below. But the quotes we got were insane for people to do it for us. So I'm like, I think I can do some drywall. I think I can buy some sheets of drywall, put some mud down, we should be good to go, right? I guess we'll see how it turns out. It's literally just a few patch spots, so I should be fine. But today, I want to talk about something that I've made videos in the past about a ton, okay? So in the past, I've made a ton of videos talking about how to counter this team because this team is so predictable. When you come against it in the arena on like defense, it's easy, okay? You know how to counter it. You know what it's going to do. Well, if you don't know what it's going to do after this video, you will know what it's going to do. But I've never talked about how you actually build this kind of team. And in one of my previous videos, somebody actually asked, how do you build a blender team, or what even is a blender team? So a blender team, boiled down to the very basics, is an ally attack champion who is paired up with champions who do A1 abilities that are AoE, okay? So an AoE, which is an area of effect, comes from like World of Warcraft, MMO games, different term. Basically, attacks all enemies, okay? Maybe it should be AAE, who knows? But A1, which is her ability 1, attacks all enemies, places an extra hit if the target has more than 50% HP. And then we have Ray, who attacks all enemies, has a 30% chance of placing a 60% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Both of these abilities say attacks all enemies. Now, you don't technically have to use Arbiter. Technically, I could throw in Cardiel, I could throw in Ray, Skullcrown, plus Belor, okay? I'll show you guys a list of all the champions with A1 abilities that attack all enemies, okay? So I could even do this. This is technically a blender team. Basically, we're taking the enemy, we're throwing them into a blender, chopping them up, and boom, done. Easy peasy, okay? That's the idea of blender, super easy team. Now, typically, the teams are made with an Arbiter leader. That's the most common, I'd say, but you can do it with Gorgrab as the leader. You could do it with any champion like that. The idea with those champions as a leader is that one, with Arbiter, you're getting the increased attack. 50% increased attack is very, very big, very, very nice. But you're also getting this turn meter boost by 30% plus this 30% arena aura, which is so very nice. I mean, because the worst thing in the arena is going second, okay? Blender teams don't really take very many hits. So their strengths are teams that aren't super tanky, teams you're faster than, and yeah, you don't really want to run into shield teams either, so okay? So stay away from super tanky teams and stay away from teams you're slower than. Probably basically the same thing you're running anyways. The benefit, however, of blender teams is that you're able to gear your damage dealers, your DPS champions, specifically for damage, okay? So your Skullcrown, your Sinesha, your Ray, whatever you're using, you can literally take their boots and turn them to attack boots, okay? Or defense boots if there is an AoE defense damage dealer champion or whatever, but make sure their A1 is damage based off of whatever you're scaling for, right? But let's just say it's a Ray. We could literally take Ray and take her boots, put attack percent boots on her, and depending on who we're using as an ally attack champion, we could gear them around that, right? Now, before I get too much further in this video, let me go ahead and show you guys this list, okay? Also, if you're enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, and do all that kind of cool stuff. It helps out a ton. But this list is from Ayumi Love, which shout out to Ayumi Love. Check out the website. Helps out a ton, but I'll leave these links down in the comments below. Basically, these are all the champions with the A1 AoE abilities, okay? Like I mentioned before, attacks all enemies. Bad L, Big N, obviously some of these champions are not going to be ideal to do damage, right? Battle Sage, probably not going to be the best damage dealer. Bad L Khazar, probably not going to be the best damage dealer. But you look at this list and find, oh, we got Belor. Belor does decent damage. You may be a newer player. Belor could be a very solid option to use in your blender team for sure. Sorry, I was looking over there to make sure I was still recording this video. But you can use Belor, you can use Fellhound. All these champions are options, okay? They give you what you need with the A1 ability that's AoE. Even Baron, okay? So Baron was a champion I was looking into a second ago. He may not actually appear on that list, but his A1, whenever he attacks somebody, the extra damage that he has, he just transfers it to everybody else, okay? So I don't even know what Baron is, a Banner Lord, I think. Okay, so his A1 is attacks one enemy, will attack all remaining enemies with any surplus damage. So I'm testing him out a little bit after CVC. I think I'm going to build him and try this out some more. But yeah, this will essentially be an A1 ability, AoE ability as well, if you time it right, pair it up correctly, but I'm definitely going to test it out. I tried it very little in the Doom Tower and it seemed to work. But these are all the champions. Take a look at this, find what champions you need. Here is a list of all the champions with a ally join attack, okay? Now, I don't know if this is fully updated because Cardiel should be in the ally join attack for champions, I believe. Because his A3 ability does bring all allies into the fight. Then teams up with all allies to attack a target. So it should be there, I think. But either way, doesn't really matter. This is pretty up to date, okay? So Kreela, Lanicus, Catacomb Counselor, Longbeard, and Farrakhan. You don't really want to go down here with these champions because it's not going to be super consistent, okay? So these champions who bring in 2 champions into the fight alongside them, they're not going to bring in all of your champions in the arena, okay? So you may leave out one of your damage dealers, and you don't want to do that, right? You don't want to leave out your damage dealing champion. So the easiest, most consistent ones are Lanicus, Kreela, Catacomb Counselor, who's an epic champion, Longbeard, and Farrakhan. Now, when you go to pick out an ally attack champion, keep in mind what their skill set brings, okay? So Cardio, increase crit rate, increase crit damage. Okay, well, if I'm going to build a damage dealing champion, I only need 70% crit rate now because big brain, 70% plus 30% is 100%. Okay, so 100% crit rate, that's what you're gearing for. Just throw 70% crit rate, 70% crit rate on your damage dealer. So now your Skull Crowns, your Rays, your Sineshas, your Bellowers, your Fellhounds, they can be geared, which keep in mind, this is going to mess them up in other areas of the game where you're not running that increased crit rate by a 30% buff. But in the arena, they can have 70% crit rate, all out crit damage, all out attack, all out savage gear, cruel gear, whatever you have, throw it at them, okay? You want them to hit just as hard as possible. And this works especially well in lower levels arena where you can when you bring that extra damage, it just really helps you out so much. So definitely keep that in mind when you're building out one of these ally attack champions like Kreela. Let me find her. I don't think she has any damage boost or any ability on her A2 stuff, which that's her A2 ability is her ally attack. So she's kind of plain, okay? So when you bring her, she places a stun and then she joins up with the other allies. Granted, you do need this fully booked for this to actually work, but champions like Farrakhan, very solid, okay? So Farrakhan and Cardiel are going to be very similar as far as increased crit rate plus increased crit damage, but keep that in mind. You want to build around those champions, okay? I'm going to do a few example fights. I don't have my champions built around my Cardio and the ally techs. I don't personally use Blender very often. I just use this first team up here, very basic arena team, but Blender is a super simple team to set up, okay? You just need your speed booster, ideally going faster than the enemy. When you're not going faster, you're probably gonna die, right? This is perfect example right here that you're gonna get wrecked, okay? So, well, Skull Crown may clutch this up, maybe, but ideally, you're gonna go first, you're gonna be faster than the enemy. If you're not, it's gonna throw a curveball for sure. Obviously, tech teams like this. Now, my idea here, this is gonna be getting a little bit more into the weeds. Hopefully you guys got the basics of this team down. But the positioning of your champions is a very big deal here. Okay, so we have Arbiter, Cardio, so these two right here. And then if you don't know the positioning, I went over this in a previous video, but if you forget the positioning, just empty the spots and then click Arbiter. That's the first spot, Cardio, second spot. Third spot is right here. Fourth spot is in the back. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, how this works is if you're using like Skull Crown plus Sinesha, Skull Crown's abilities are going to hit. They're going to look at the opponent's health, and then Sineshas are going to hit. It's going to look at the opponent's health. Now, this is important because Skull Crown does an extra hit if the target has more than 50% HP. So the highest likelihood that the target's going to have more than 50% HP would be on the first hit, right? Okay, so Skull Crown's going to do her hits. You want her to be in front of Sinesha in this order, okay? Sinesha, on the other hand, has the ability where she does an extra hit if the target has less than 50% HP. And since she'll be in this third position or this fourth position right here, then this will calculate after Skull Crown's damage has already gone through and everything like that, then Sinesha will see if she gets a second hit or not. Now this may work. I may be able to showcase this here. I don't think the champions are geared very well, but pay attention to Skull Crown and Sinesha. It's kind of difficult sometimes to see when they get their double hits and whatnot, but we should ideally see them both getting double hits. That'd be awesome, okay? So double hit. And I don't know if Sinesha got double hit or not. She should have, but I'm not 100% sure if she actually did. It's kind of tricky to see sometimes. Okay, yeah, so she should have got double hit just then. Either way, you want to make sure the positioning is correct. I'm going to give you guys another example of that in just a few seconds. Now, when it comes to champions like Ray has her A1 ability where she places decreased defense, has a 30% chance, so it's kind of low. If you get her fully booked, it goes up to what, 50% chance? If my math is right, 30 plus 20, 50. Dang, we got a math lesson plus a blender lesson. Wow. Okay, so Ray's here, and then we have Skull Crown. Basically, what's going to happen here is Ray is going to attempt to place a decreased defense. She probably won't even place it. Not a big deal, but it is an added benefit if she does actually place it, right? So we'll have Ray placing that decreased defense ideally, and then we'll have Skull Crown coming up with her A1 ability and doing a ton of damage, okay? Now, it looks like Skull Crown's hits first, but it actually doesn't. I'll show you guys an example once we get into the Doom Tower, where it's really easy to actually showcase this kind of stuff, because I was wondering the same thing. But you can really tell when you swap those positions that Skull Crown, while it looks like she's hitting first, it makes a big difference when you actually swap them around. Let's go in here to the Doom Tower and give you guys an example real quick, okay? So the positioning really matters. If you want somebody to apply a debuff first, then put them in the first spot. Maybe you have somebody in a stun set and you have the person behind them with the mastery, I believe it's called Oppressor. I think it's what it's called, where it gives you extra damage if the person stuns, sleep, fear, provoke. Opportunist? Yeah, Opportunist. Oppressor, that's a different mastery. Increases damage inflicted with targets stun, sleep, fear, true fear, or freeze. Maybe you throw somebody in a stun set, place a stun with the A1 ability, and then have the person after them doing the hard hitting damage. Maybe you have your Faction Wars Bellower in a stun set. Throw him in that second spot, have the person in this third slot wearing Savage gear, Cruel gear, and they can utilize all that extra damage. Now here, this will be a perfect example. I don't want to do on normal though, I want to do on hard. Pay attention to this, all right? Let's go ahead and get this set up, Ty, before you start telling people to pay attention. Now we'll use Cardio, we'll use Ray, and then Skull Crown. So we'll do this a few times. I think I have Helm Smasher on Skull Crown, not 100% sure, but we'll do this a few times to make sure everything's consistent, all right? Or to 1 speed, we got some decreased defense up there. Make sure we got a decent amount of decreased defense landed. And Skull Crown did 155,000 damage, all right? This was with Ray in that first spot, right? So 155,000 damage that first time. We did 169,000 damage that second time. We'll do it 3 times, make sure the numbers are kind of close, make sure there's no big outliers, right? So 155, 169. We're not even using Notepad. I'll just keep this in my memory. 144. So 144 to 169. Let's see if there's a very big difference whatsoever. So we'll go ahead and do this. And then here's what I was talking about. You'll be able to tell the difference and like see that Ray hits way after Skull Crown when they swap positions like this. So you'll see Skull Crown literally uses their ability and then Ray hits. You can really tell in this situation. So Skull Crown did a total of 73,000 damage. What? All right, let's just make sure that wasn't like a random fluke, okay? We don't want to have those outliers there. Now, obviously you could say, oh, well, Skull Crown went after Ray, so she may be getting some benefits of doing damage to champions under, what, 40% HP? But I don't think Ray was dropping people below that anyways, so keep that in mind as well. Plus, Skull Crown is getting her double hits no matter what, because the enemies are all above 50% HP, essentially. So she is getting those. I don't see what the hit was there. I think it was like 100,000. I don't really know. Let's do this again. One more time for the test. But you can see there's a huge difference between Skull Crown going before Ray versus Skull Crown going after Ray. And that's obvious for if you've been playing for a long time, if you know about positioning. But if you don't know about positioning, this is pretty big, right? 80,000 damage. And you just do something as simple as swapping those champions' positionings. Now, this relates to the arena, of course, right? But this also relates to your positionings when you're just doing dungeons, when you're just doing Doom Tower, when you're doing Clan Boss, anything like that. You want to make sure the champion's order is correct, okay? I've talked about this in a previous video, but this is a perfect example. 120,000 damage here, okay? So it's clearly more damage, all right? Especially when more decreased defense lands, the better the damage is going to be. Now, let me do this just one more time. Make sure we're actually getting some decreased defense landing, okay? I don't want to look in the comments and see, oh, Ty, your decreased defense landed 3 times less on this one than before, which it doesn't even matter because the decreased defense lands afterwards. Literally, everybody got the decreased defense applied, and the Skull Crown is sitting here doing 80,000 damage, okay? Pretty clear cut and concise proof there, which I think is pretty awesome, okay? So jump into the arena, and okay, look, this is a good example right here. This is literally Blender versus Blender. This is good if you're fast, if you're confident, but if you're not, this is gonna be kind of rough, okay? Honestly, I don't know if I would tack into this Blender team because they do have a Skull Crown with Unkillable, which is gonna kind of suck. But another thing to keep in mind, especially if you're going against teams like this, is while I mentioned, well, being fast and speed tuned. Fast and speed tuned are the two most important things here, for sure. So we'll go ahead and we don't have Sinesha, so we're not going to revive our Skull Crown. It's not really going to matter. I think we probably lose this one either way. Maybe I should have procced her Unkillable, so she would have activated that. But I went the YOLO route and wanted to go ahead and this. So I misplayed that anyways, but ultimately it's probably going to be a loss. You want to make sure you're faster. This is not my fastest Arbiter. The Arbiter currently for me is 317 speed. Cardio is not perfectly speed tuned, but I wanted to get the idea across. Blender teams, that's actually probably dangerous. Just a tanky team. This one right here should be a pretty decent option. Not super tanky. I should be faster than them. Overall, this should be a decent one to go against. But this is a very good team if you're like mid to low gold, if you're just trying to grind the arena, push through tons of teams. This is very, very solid to just blow through matches super quickly. Now, something to keep in mind, I mentioned before that you can make your champions very, very slow. That's very true. And you can get a ton of damage. But if you're noticing that you're not quite getting enough damage to actually one-shot the teams, then speed your champions up, put them where mine are at, like 190 speed, which these are just my typical use cases for my champions. These champions are built for like faction wars and things like that, but just boost them to 190 speed. So where then they get the boost from Arbiter, and then they actually get a turn as well, okay? So then they're getting their A1 AoE abilities from your Cardio, from your Farrakhan, from your Kreela, from your whoever else you're using, plus they're getting to use their A2, A3, whatever it may be. That kind of rhymed. I didn't even mean to. But they get to use whatever else after they do that initial ally attack, okay? Now, obviously, Blender, well, I don't know obviously, but Blender has its clear benefits, especially if you build this super powerful. I've seen some nasty Blender teams in 3v3 that I'd even bring my Necrit in. And one time I think I even found a Blender team that could beat my Seeker plus Necrit, which is actually crazy. I wish I could find that and I would showcase it or show you guys it. But if you really dedicate a team, Savage Gear, Cruel Gear, which the benefit is that you don't need your crit rate to be 100%. You don't need to be super fast. You can cut out some of those stats. So now you can throw in those extra defense ignore sets and things like that, which does add a huge benefit. You can make a Blender team hit very hard and be pretty easy to just blow through the ranks in Gold 1, Gold 2, Gold 3, even Gold 4, okay? Obviously, if you dedicate a Blender team, it's going to be a lot smoother than this one, but this one works pretty well for what it is anyways. If I was looking for a team that's pretty auto-friendly, consistent, that was what, 8 seconds? Let's go ahead and see this, okay? So that was 8-second match. We look at this team that I usually use. It's gonna be probably close to the same, but the animation times are a little bit longer for this, okay? So we have the Sify doing her animations, Kaimar doing his animations. Obviously the counterattack there makes this a little bit longer, but the animations here are a little bit longer, right? So we got a 10-second battle, where with Blender, may have even been less time, okay? So let's go ahead and see if I'm gonna be faster than them. I may not be, I may be slower than them. We're about to see though, about to find out. Remember, put Ray in the front. It's gonna be a huge, huge benefit. If I was using Skull Crown plus Sinesha, it'd be Skull Crown in the front, Sinesha in the back. Now, depending on who you're using, you may wanna go in and actually set the AI of these champions because sometimes the champion's AI is dumb and it doesn't do the right stuff at the right time. This one faster than me. Dang, I need to speed my Arbiter up. If my Arbiter was like 330, I think I'd be fine. Unfortunately, she's not that fast because this is not my main Arbiter and she's just slow poking around. Maybe we just use Sify here. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna use Sify because Sify will at least let me go first. I'll go first, but I'm not speed tuned whatsoever. It's the ally attack champion, so I might go first, but I think I'll probably get cut in on. Yeah, I got cut in on. Rip. So obviously, get your champion faster. Get your champion to be consistently faster than the enemy team, and you're gonna have smooth sailing ahead. Okay, so literally any champion with a speed boost in the lead, increased attack buffs, just icing on the cake, just an added little extra benefit, not needed, but it does help out a lot. You want to make sure when you are speed tuning your teams that it actually is correct and that your speed tunes are actually in the correct order, correct spots, and everything like that. So either way, guys, I hope you get the concept of that down. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you can see how to build a Blender team. Obviously, if you dedicate your champion solely to the Blender, it's going to be a lot smoother. It's going to be a lot better performance overall. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoy this video. Hopefully you learned something at least about champion positioning. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.